Hi, I'm Rosaina Haji. I grew up eating traditionally prepared meals by my grandmother and family. In my travels to many destinations, I enjoyed various cuisines with exotic flavors, which has definitely left a mark in my cooking. My recipes are a concoction of childhood memories and my travels around the world, and mainly to give prominence to those really tasty dishes that are less talked about. This is the minority taste. When you say quail, usually the things that come into your mind is 7-star or a 5-star restaurant, minimum 5-star restaurant, because quail is very famous in European meals, within European restaurants, and everybody knows that quail is something that you go to a fancy restaurant and have. But did you know that quail is very famous in Asian countries as well? They just use it in Asian dishes and Asian curries, and nobody really talks about it. So today we're going to do a recipe with quail. So today's quail recipe was given to me by the Hardy family, who is from Colombo. So this is a very traditional recipe. It has been with their family for generations. It comes in a set menu. Now the menu consists of a soup and a rice and fried quail. So I personally think that this menu is really nice, and this soup is not just any ordinary soup. It's a very famous spiced Sri Lankan soup. So it's something very nice to have, especially on a weekend. This soup is just so fulfilling and so aromatic and really tasty. So let's get into making it. So how you choose good quail is you have to find the most plumpiest and the fattest little quails. So you have to get it fresh. And for the soup, now you can use 300 grams of chicken bones or beef bones. I'm using beef bones. So here is 300 grams of beef bones. So you're going to need onions in two ways. One big Bombay onion, a quarter of a piece chopped, and the rest of it cut into big chunks like this. It really doesn't matter because it's going into the soup. Then one whole garlic, 2-3 pods chopped, and another 2-3 pods smashed. Then 1-inch ginger, quarter of a piece chopped, and the rest of it smashed like this. Then a few pandan leaves, curry leaves, one big tomato chopped. The spices that you're going to need is half a teaspoon of coriander seeds and half a teaspoon of peppercorn seeds, half a teaspoon of cumin seeds, a few pods of cardamom, and just 2-3 cloves, 2-3 tablespoons of barley, pearl barley. So now we're going to talk about what's needed for the marination of the quail. So we're going to need 1 inch of ginger and about 3-4 pods of garlic smashed and made it into like a puree. 2-3 tablespoons of tamarind juice. You add that into the tamarind juice. This is about 1.5 teaspoons of chili powder. Now the more you add, the more heat you will get, so add accordingly. Add a little bit of salt in here. I'm adding about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now remember, the marination is what will give that immense intense flavor in the quail, because it has to fry. So make sure you add adequate chili and salt the way you like it, so that it will all be nicely absorbed into the quail. So you mix it well and it should look something like this, and this is your marination. These are the basic ingredients for the soup. Now I am using baby carrots. You can use just normal carrots, but since I had them, I'm going to use them, and I have cut everything to match the size of the baby carrots. So here I have leeks, beans, potatoes, and white radish, a little bit of celery leaves, a little celery, about 2-3 sprigs chopped. Let's get into making the soup first. So we'll start with the soup. First we have to put the bones in. What's easy is I put a boiling pot of water already before like starting it anyway, so that it gives a quick start. So into the hot water I just add the bones in, then the onions, then the smashed ginger and garlic, one chopped tomato, a few leaves of pandan, few curry leaves, just a pinch of cumin seeds, 2-3 cardamom pods. Make sure that you smash them a little bit before you add it. And the 2-3 cloves. I'm adding salt here, about 1 tablespoon. Now some people use stock cubes. You can use that too, but I like it when it's really clean and fresh and you don't have that Chinesey taste, because this is Sri Lankan soup. So just try to create flavor from the stock itself. I'm gonna add the celery into this as well. Now add your 2-3 tablespoons of barley. Now when I mean add the vegetables, just add all the celery sprigs but not the leaves, and then you add just a few 2-3 pieces of carrots and 2-3 pieces of potato. What we are looking for is to make that stock. Now some people use stock cubes to get all that flavor. If you're using stock cube, don't add a lot of salt. But I prefer to make the stock from scratch, especially for this soup. So for that you need a little bit of vegetables. So just a little bit of carrots from the carrots that we already have, a little bit of potatoes, just to get that stock going. What we are looking for is for the meat and the barley and the onions to all be really fully boiled and all that bone stock to come out. And once that stock is done, you will see that there's a little bit of froth coming out like this. So you will get rid of all that mucky froth, and after you get rid of that mucky froth, you check if your barley is all boiled, and once the barley is softened up, that's where you put the vegetables in. So I will show you that. So once it starts boiling like this, I'm gonna add my lid in the pressure cooker. Now don't worry if you girls don't have a pressure cooker, you can just boil it till it's done. As I said, just wait till the barley and the meat is fully mushed up. So what you're looking at is a beautiful stock like this. It has to be something like this. It has to look something like this. As you can see, the barley has doubled in size. So that's an indication that it's boiled, and it will give a beautiful aroma. And if you check the taste, you will get a beautiful stock taste. And if there's not enough salt, this is where you should add salt. So I'm adding rest of the vegetables, the carrots, the leeks, and the white radish, and the potato. I'm gonna leave the beans and the celery leaves for the last, because it takes really just seconds to cook that. So I'm gonna let the tougher vegetables boil first. So mix that in and let it boil. So this is the crucial part. You have to add your quail into the soup for about 2 or 3 minutes tops, because quail takes a really short time to cook, and you mustn't allow it to cook overcooked, because it dries out really fast. So add it into your soup so that it absorbs and partially cook your quail so that it will be easier to fry, and also it gives that additional flavor. So what I've done here is I've added the quail, and once it changes color, something like this, you know it's partially cooked, take it out. And the other reason we do this is because the quail has a different flavor, so it adds that flavor too into the soup. So just give it about 2 or 3 minutes. The total time of cooking from parboiling to frying should not exceed 6 minutes. So if it exceeds 6 minutes, it can dry out. So be very mindful about that. That's the only tricky part in this recipe. Other than that, it's such an easy thing to do. Now we're going to finish off the soup. So we're going to do a little temper. You add the remaining curry leaves and the pandan leaves, then the chopped onions, the finely chopped ginger and the garlic, and rest of the cardamom pods. Quickly fry it off a little bit. Just a dash of salt to bring it all together. And it's turned color. You take it off the heat. You add it onto your hot soup and mix it in. And at this point in time, add the celery leaves and the beans. And let that cook. Now for the finishing touches for the soup, add the remnants of the cumin seeds, the coriander seeds and the peppercorn, and ground it into a fine powder. This aromatic spice mix is the magic behind the soup. Now you can do this in 2 ways. You can add this into the temper with the onions and the curry leaf mixture and the ginger and garlic that we fried in coconut oil, just 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. And you can let it fry in that and then add it all together, but I prefer it in its raw form, boiling it in the soup. So let's finish off the magic behind the soup and add all that beautiful spices, and you reduce the heat at this moment and you mix that in, and you will immediately get a wonderful aroma in the soup. It may seem like there's a lot of ingredients, but I assure you, once I start making it, you will understand the steps of it. So don't be overwhelmed. I will write it and put it in the descriptions below so that y'all will know exactly what's needed. It's just that it takes a little bit of preparation, but it's quite easy to make. Now these 2 ingredients are optional. That's why I didn't show it to you before. You can finish off the soup with a little bit of coconut milk, just to give it that richness and the thickness. I'm using about 1/4 pint of thick coconut cream and just a chopped sprig of dill. Now I know dill is hard to come by these days, so you can omit this. This is totally optional, but if you add it, it becomes even richer and nicer, and it adds so much flavor. And there you have it. This is the Sri Lankan beautiful spiced soup. Now you can use gloves if you like, but I'm not like a nitty-picky person like that when it comes to cooking, so I use my hands because hands give a little bit of additional kick. So you take your quail, and first and foremost, just take a little bit of that marination and just add it into the cavity, and you have to really get in there and let all that marination absorb, and just really massage the quail. This is how you get all that flavor in. The irony of quail is when it's overcooked, it's really dry and tough, but when it's just right or undercooked, it's very, very delicate. So be mindful. Make sure you take all the liquid off because it was partially cooked in the soup. So let the liquid drip off and then you marinate it. Now once you marinate this, you have to let it sit for about at least half an hour. That's fine because you can cook the rice till then, because we are just using boiled rice for this recipe and for this menu. So just let it sit there for half an hour and let it really absorb. Now like I said before, be careful, the meat is delicate at the moment, so be gentle. So you can take a string and tie the legs, because once you start frying, the legs and wings go all over. So take a cooking string and you can tie the legs, or you can do what I do, because I don't have cooking string at the moment. Gently fold the legs into the cavity. Just the top part of it. You take the legs and gently fold it in to the cavity like this. And let it sit like that. And you can take this and fry it like that, and don't worry, the legs won't come off. So I always do this trick to check if the oil is hot. Just add a little curry leaves, and when it's bubbling up, that's the correct temperature. And then you can add your quail. Now the quail has been sitting for about half an hour to 45 minutes. So the flavor is fully absorbed. Now the idea here is to quickly crisp it up because it's already partially cooked. So all you need to do is fry it for about 3 to 4 minutes. Make sure you put the breast part first so that the legs will get fried in and it won't come out. So when it's golden brown like this, that's your cue. This should be done in 3 to 4 minutes. As I said before, the total cooking time should not exceed 6 minutes. That's how you keep it moist. So according to the Hardy family, the accompaniment is you have this with coconut, but I have added just a little bit of an additional kick of fresh raw shallots sliced into chunks and with green chilies soaked in vinegar, which adds a really nice kick with the coconut. So you just have rice and coconut and that beautiful melody of that bone soup and your fried quail. Now I know for people who haven't tried this, this is something totally new and you would be wondering what it would taste like, but I assure you it tastes really, really good. It's a very, very loved family recipe. Now I'm doing it for you guys. Please give it a try and let me know what you think of it. And don't think that quail is just for 7-star or 5-star restaurants. It is an Asian favorite too, and this is one menu and recipe for it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Minority Taste. See you in my next one. Bye.